Alrighty everyone, we are back for another A-League show. I have failed over the past fortnight to get these videos to you, but that stops now. We carry on for the rest of time. A-League, weekly videos, week after week. It's going to be fantastic. But we start with this week and stuff that also kind of bleeds into last week. But it's been crazy in the A-League recently. We've got a lot of off-field stuff to talk about. We had a crazy weekend on-field, and we've got some big games coming up as well. So that's what we're going to be discussing. But we'll start with the off-field stuff because it is mainly blunders from the APL in my opinion. And to summarize it, they instructed Perth Glory to loan out a player. They sacked everyone that's working at the APL, and they're extremely poor. And we'll start with that point because it's come out that the APL are suffering serious financial issues, and it seems that they've wasted a lot of money on things like keep up, which has been the main issue, and apparently it's no longer going to exist, which honestly, bummer. Like, keep up was one of the worst things I think anyone's ever come up with in regards to the A-League, but that's where a lot of the money went, although other things have come out that they spent $1 million on the logo redesign and $3 million on that dreadful theme song from a couple of years ago, and it just seems that the APL have been quite frivolous with their money, and that's not a good look for the league. I also saw a thing on the Financial Review article about this where they mentioned that Silver Lake have a sellback clause in 2029 where they can sell back their third of a stake in the A-League at market value, which is kind of frightening. I mean, we've still got 5 years, but the fact that, you know, someone that owns a third of the A-League could sell it out and force the APL to buy it back is kind of worrying, but, you know, hopefully it'll just drop to the point where it's got no value whatsoever and it wouldn't be worth selling. But point is, very little transparency. APL have been very frivolous with the money and nobody likes it. Nobody's happy. And it's led to people being sacked. As I mentioned, that's the other blunder. And the APL haven't actually put it down to a blunder. They've claimed that it's to do with the initial 3-year plan of the APL coming to an end and them deciding that they're letting go, making redundant 20 to 50% of their staff. I've seen varying numbers, but it's around 40 to 80 people being let go, and I believe the APL has about 130 people working for them. So, yeah, it could be any of those figures or maybe a bit higher, but it seems to be mainly related to keep up and that side of the business and whatever going down. So yeah, it is what it is. But overall, actually, I'll also talk about their other blunder. It's kind of unrelated. Those two are quite similar. But the other thing that they've done is instructed Perth Glory to loan out Salim Khalifi to Melbourne Victory because Perth Glory are poor and propped up by the APL. And it's probably within their rights to do it, isn't it? Like, they're funding Perth to some extent, I believe, and it's probably within their rights to say, hey, we're funding you, so get rid of this player because, you know, we don't want to be funding you that much. But it seems like a weird decision to make because it shoots at competitive integrity for the sake of small financial gain. Like, Perth Glory keeping around a player that's probably on less than, 150 grand a year, as opposed to just absolutely damaging the competitive integrity of the competition, because this is the league coming in and instructing a club to get rid of a player because they're being backed by the league. And I'm sure there's arguments to be made why that's reasonable, and like I'm not denying that there are arguments that are there. I'm just saying that it's weird to be doing that because there's also definitely an argument that it lacks competitive integrity doing things like that. And yeah, it's quite disappointing to see. But overall, yeah, the APL have made a series of blunders. And for me, it's quite disappointing to see because the A-League has been so successful, in my opinion, this year. And it hasn't been flashy successful. It hasn't been ridiculous rugby league attendances or anything like that. But I just feel that the league is coming into its own again. And we're seeing unique actives, unique atmospheres, unique play styles, quality players. And it's all really exciting around the league. And hearing stuff like this is disappointing. It's not, like, I don't want to overreact. Like, it's not the same as the grand final situation of last year, nowhere near. But it's more like, because the APL being poor, of course. Like, that they've been incompetent for 3 years straight. Like, even if this is to do with the end of some 3-year plan, like, their 3-year plan failed immediately and they were a joke. So, yeah, this is more of, like, something that you knew was coming, but I just didn't know when and kind of forgot about it. But, yeah, I really don't know what to make of it. And people have said that it's the APL is suffering, like, serious issues. So, yeah, hopefully we don't see an end to it, because I think the APL as a way of structuring Australian football can work, like having a league independent from the FA. But obviously in the way that it's been done over the past 3 years, it's not sustainable. So, yeah, that's the APL stuff. It was a bit choppy. I mentioned transparency, and that's something I'd love to see now, because we don't know how much they've blown through, but we do know that there was serious investment in the A-League recently. Like, I believe 200 million came in from the Silver Lake investment. They got a lot of money from the Paramount TV deal as well, and I think they're bringing in decent money per year. So for them to be having to make such significant changes and abandon something like Keep Up, which they were like saying they were basing football there, like that seemed like their main thing, Keep Up, and to see that they're scrapping it after 3 years, it's kind of, yeah, like, you want transparency because there's an obvious lack of direction and you want to know what's going on. As a fan, as a stakeholder, you want to know what's going on. So, yeah, that's the APL situation, and I don't want to let it get me down because, as I said, disappointing, but there's a lot of good stuff going on in the league right now, including last weekend where we had 5 games? There were a few less. Obviously, by the time I upload this, Newcastle and Brisbane will have played. They're playing before the Socceroos match, and so did Macarthur and Brisbane on Thursday night, and I don't like that. I don't like that they're scheduling, like, obviously the Thursday night one kind of needed to be there. Like, they could have done it on the weekend, but it had a place there. But this one, Newcastle versus Brisbane, I don't like that it's before the Socceroos game. 2 in a row, piss off. But yeah, we'll go back. I'm not even going to talk about that. It's a boring game, Newcastle-Brisbane. We saw it the other week. But Macarthur versus Brisbane was great because Macarthur twatted Brisbane, who are absolute crap. Like, I don't know what happened against Newcastle last weekend at Unite Round, but they somehow got a win there. But against Macarthur, never in doubt for Macarthur. Even Jed Drew scored. It was another just efficient display from Macarthur, who made plenty of chances, scored 3 goals, put the game out of reach. I know Brisbane got one back, but for me, Brisbane were absolutely dreadful, and the game truly ended when Jelicic absolutely snapped Clayton Lewis. And again, it's not good to see that, but entertainment-wise, big tackles flying in when your team's lost. Good passion. Love to see it. So, yeah, that was the first game. Then on Friday, we had 2 games. We had a top-of-the-table clash between Melbourne Victory and the Knicks, which looked like a great attendance. I think it was one of the biggest attendances the Knicks have got in a long time. So, it's good to see hype around Wellington. And the game ended 1-1. And it looked absolutely crazy. I believe there were some offside goals. Alex Paulson made some big saves. And late on in the game, Valufale took a shot. It bounced off the normal person-sized midget that is Connor Chapman and went in for Melbourne Victory. And it looked, and Wellington had gone down to 10 men by this point. They went down to 10 men around halftime. Tim Payne got sent off for another tackle. It went to VAR. It got upgraded from a yellow to a red. It wasn't as beefy as Jelicic's one, but it was a pretty dangerous tackle. So Wellington were down to 10 men. They were holding on. Paulson doing well. And then, as I said, bounced off the human-sized midget Connor Chapman. He ran off celebrating like a knobhead, and Melbourne Victory were up 1-0. And it looked like they were going to be, running away at the top of the league, putting some distance between themselves and third, and getting a few points on Wellington as well. But come late, I don't even remember who broke into the box. I can hardly remember who brought them down, but it happened. And it took about 5 minutes to review. So at the 95th minute, Alex Rufer was taking a penalty, and he was calm as you'd like. Like, he just scored it, and it was 1-1. But point is, that game went nuts late. It looked an exciting game throughout the match. However, I only really watched the end because I didn't get to watch it live. And yeah, it looked like a really exciting top of the table clash. Massive crowd. Melbourne Victory fans. I heard some shit went down in the away bay, which is not good. But, you know, still event happening in the A-League. And yeah, it just seemed like an exciting top of the table clash. So yeah, really good game. And both teams are even on 25 points at the top of the table. And at that point, by the way, Western Sydney still had a game to play. Western Sydney were 4 points behind both of these teams. They both dropped points, and Western Sydney want to consider themselves title challengers, and they were playing a team. We're going to get to the Sydney game, but this is much more fun to talk about West Sydney now, because two teams above West Sydney dropped points. If they picked up 3 points, they would go 1 point behind them and put themselves in a great position to challenge for the title later on in the season. And they were playing Perth Glory, who hadn't won a away game in like 15 months. And West Sydney, and it was lovely. Like, Wanderers were genuinely tragic, and Perth put in like a really good performance. Even Ollie Sale was good. That's how much Western Sydney choked this match. Ollie Sale, a player that hasn't been good for 10 months now, put in a good performance. He did also score an own goal later on, apparently. It looked like a Marcelo goal, but I did see it getting chalked off as an own goal, so no idea what happened there. But yeah, even Ollie Sale had a good match. But Perth looked great, very efficient on the counter-attack. They created a lot of chances. I believe they had 2 goals that were disallowed for being offside, and they were defo offside, so you can't give them too much credit. But when they got the ball off West Sydney, which wasn't as often as they probably would have liked, but they didn't have much possession. When they did, they turned it around quickly and scored goals. And yeah, Kolakovsky and David Williams were the goal scorers. Both of their goals were class. And yeah, just really good for Perth, and really, really terrible for West Sydney, who again choke in the face of potentially challenging for a trophy. So yeah, unsurprising there. That's what they do. But on the other side of town, a day before that West Sydney game, I believe, or was it? Yeah, it was a day before the West Sydney game. Sydney FC took on Newcastle in a pre-Big Blue match, which, yeah, for me, really felt like a Big Blue. Like, I'm just looking forward to that. Melbourne Victory games, it was like that earlier in the season where, like, 2 or 3 games ahead, I just wanted the Big Blue, and it's the same here. Like, I turned up to Newcastle pretty iffy. I'm not sure if we're going to do anything in the league this season. I like to have hope, but it ebbs and flows. And on the day, yeah, I was just really thinking about the Big Blue next week. But we turned up. I don't think we were actually as good as we've been previously. But we ended up smashing Newcastle, who could have scored first, but Stamatopoulos was offside. And then Sydney FC went on. Paddy Wood scored in the first half with a lovely dink. But I also want to give a shout out to Max Burgess, who was otherwise legendary, like top performance from him. But the assist for me was my favourite thing from that Max Burgess performance, because it's just a real lanky midfielder assist. Like, he's just, he's placed it like he's putting in golf. He's put it in the perfect spot for Paddy Wood, and Paddy Wood has finished it. So that goal made me really happy. Both of Burgess' other goals were quite exciting, and Joe Lolly got on the score sheet as well. But the one other thing that I wanted to mention about Sydney FC, and I actually should have got more like stats or something to support this point, but Jake Gerwood-Reich is fantastic, right? Sydney FC put out a heat map on social media. That's not really what I was looking for, but the point I wanted to make is that he's clearly a fantastic player. We've seen him step into the midfield this year and be good more than he wasn't. And we've seen him play centre-back quite successfully at times as well. But my point that I wanted to make is he should not be playing centre-back. Like, we cannot continue to allow him to be wasted at centre-back, because Holman and Bratton are great, but Gerwood-Reich is another great defensive midfielder option, and we are just ruining him at centre-back because he can't play centre-back, right? Like, if you look at the game, he should have been sent off that game, by the way, but he was getting stuck in. Great tackles and everything like that, and he put ones in at the wrong time. Like, I remember he was the last man and he took out a Newcastle player and then he put in a similar challenge when he was on a yellow. Like, he was putting in silly challenges at times, which a centre-back shouldn't be making. But I feel like if you've got him in the midfield and if you're not playing him out of position, he was getting, like, the lob balls over him with strikers making, not... runs on an angle. They were getting past him. Like, he does not look solid at dealing with things that you need a centre back to deal with. And I say this as like someone that can clearly see his talent. He's so good. He needs to be playing in the midfield. Our midfielders look great. Holman and Bratton are awesome. And I think if you just put Gertwood Reich in there, then he's going to look so much better, and it's going to be so much better for him. I mean, it's great that he's doing a job for the team, but yeah, I just don't feel like it's sustainable to keep him in there. And you can say Gerd's coming back, you can say Rodwell's coming back, but you're an idiot if you do, because they're clearly not reliable. Like, I love Jack Rodwell. He's probably the best centre-back in the league on his day. And yeah, if we can get him in for the important games, then that's great. But we can never rely on him. And Aaron Gerd, I mean, is 6 out of 10 centre-back, and probably not what we need if we want to be challenging for the league title. I'd rather see him in there than Gertwood Reich, but he's injured at the moment as well. So, yeah, I hope we're looking at an injury replacement centre-back, and I'm not sure if I saw rumours of us bringing in a new player. I know we've re-signed Joe Lolly, so I don't really need to talk about that. I think it's awesome, and I think he'll thrive with the new contract, but it'd be good if we could bring in an injury replacement centre-back, because, as I said, I feel Gertwood Reich is wasted there, and also, unfortunately, just not what we need if we want to be challenging for trophies in the league this season. Yeah, that's my main point on Sydney FC. Otherwise, really good win, and hopefully we can take some confidence into the Big Blue because of it. And then, to end off the weekend, the Mariners beat City in a game that lasted 100 minutes because Terry Antonis wanted to start a punch-on. Central Coast scored first. I think it was Theoharis. Don't even remember the goal. Ugarkovic, who I did just want to note, has been pretty good for City this year, and I think he's playing some of his best football in a while. He pulled one back for them, and then Angel Torres in the 86th minute he took on Curtis Good one-on-one, and he was just so calm and so clutch, and he put it away for the Mariners and got them a result. And now I'm starting to buy into the Mariners hype again. They are the form team in the A-League. They have not lost in their last 5 games. I don't think any other team in the league can say that. Oh, and Melbourne Victory, obviously, undefeated with 7 draws. But yeah, Mariners haven't lost in their last 5 games. They've put in some really good performances. Obviously, statement win over Perth on New Year's. Big win against West Sydney at what's it called, at CommBank. Then they got the draw and Unite round, and now here against Melbourne City, who have also been turning around this season, they pick up a decisive 2-1 win. So the Mariners, really look like they're turning their season around after a dreadful start to their title defense. And I honestly feel like, based off their recent performances, it's a bit reactionary in saying this, but they could definitely be, the 3rd or 4th title contender when it comes to finals if they can keep this kind of performances up. So, Mariners looking really impressive, and as I said, decisive win against Melbourne City, who, for me, like, that game looked rather even, but to see a player like Angel Torres just so much calmness at the end of the game. It was beautiful. And, unlucky for City as well. Like, I don't want to take too much away from them, but Mariners were better in my opinion. And, that was the weekend. Pretty crazy, right? Now we move on to next weekend. I've already said there's Newcastle versus Brisbane. I'm going to go Newcastle to win this one because I do think Brisbane are absolutely tragic. I still have no idea how they won that game at Unite round. Maybe it's because the Dens turnout was bigger than Newcastle's, but don't see them winning this one. Newcastle to take that. Then on Thursday, the night before the Big Blue, Melbourne City take on Adelaide. Why am I not going to that? I'm going to that. Cool. I hadn't even thought of it, but I am going to that now. Anyway, Melbourne City versus Adelaide. That's going to be awesome. I think I'll take an Adelaide win there. If they've got Ibasuki, if they've got Irankunda, I think, they've got quite a threatening side, and I think they've been playing good football a lot this year. Like, they've had some problems with breaking teams down, so I guess we'll see. I guess it could be tight, but I think I'm going to go for an Adelaide 2-1 win away from home. I'll get on to the Big Blue because it's the game I actually want to talk about, but Western United versus Western Sydney, it'd be very Western Sydney to lose this game as well, because Western United haven't won in 4 games. They're bottom of the table. Before this game, Melbourne Victory could have potentially dropped points. I reckon they will. So Western Sydney could put them in a good position if they win against Western United. So I reckon they'll choke. And I'm going to go for a 3-1 Western United win. Then Newcastle versus Wellington Phoenix. I'm going to go Wellington. I know Newcastle absolutely trounced them over in New Zealand, but I feel like Knicks will learn from that. They're a good side. They can probably adapt, and they'll get the win against Newcastle, who, also have a short turnaround, so that could affect them. Then you've got the Mariners versus Brisbane. I've already shit on Brisbane. I've already said Newcastle should be beating them easily, so why shouldn't the Mariners? I'll go 7-0 Central Coast. And then MacArthur versus Perth Glory. Perth Glory had that comeback win against MacArthur a few weeks ago. Scenes absolutely mad at HBF Park. MacArthur, I reckon, will win this one. I wonder if Perth will actually stay in Sydney, because they're playing back-to-back West Sydney, MacArthur, so wonder if it'd be worthwhile. I don't know, but either way, I think MacArthur are a better side than Perth, and they'll probably be getting the win. But, love to see some upsets in any of these games. Besides, actually, no. Wanderers losing would be an upset, so I really want to see upsets in that game. But yeah, Melbourne Victory versus Sydney FC. I guess would also be an upset if Sydney FC won. Melbourne Victory, undefeated on the year, but they've got more draws than wins, which, if they go undefeated for the whole season, I will never ever comment like, oh, but it was draws. Like, going undefeated for a whole season of football is legendary, and if they do it, I'm not going to take it away from them if they've got like 13 draws or something like that in any sense. I think, it'd be impressive. But it's not going to happen, because Sydney FC play them on Friday, and we're going in with great vibes, and they don't have Bruno Fallen-Rolly. So, we've pretty much won, and I'm not even joking. My main concern would be our defense. I feel like Melbourne Victory struggle to score a lot of goals. Like, they might still score one, but I feel like without Bruno Fallen-Rolly, they really struggle to actually score, and we could see that on the weekend, but I feel like our defense could be too error-prone. I hope it isn't. If they can keep it tight, then I feel like we could keep a clean sheet. We obviously did it last week. And then, our forwards definitely have what it takes. I feel like if we can get Burgess in there, who obviously great performance last week, but I feel like he's been a good addition to the side over the last couple of games. Have Caceres on the field or coming off the bench, Joe Lolly, Fabio Gomez. If Kaczarski's back, that would also be great. Like, we've got all these really good attacking options, and they're quite different as well, so we could challenge Melbourne Victory in different ways, which is good. We've got a good manager, so hopefully he can adapt on the day and make decisions that, see us get goals. And then our midfield, it does kind of worry me, our midfield, because it's a 2-man midfield with Luke Bratton, who's old, and probably Corey Holman, who's young. If we put Caceres in there, he's wasted and playing out of position. If we put Girdwood Reich in there, then we don't have a centre-back. So, probably Holman and Bratton. And even if it is, I worry that they could get overrun, because against a lot of teams, they can cover the ground and do a really good job, especially in like the first half of games. They look so lively and so threatening when we don't have the ball, and hopefully they can do that here. But I feel like, Tony Popovich has primed this Melbourne Victory side for a title challenge, and while he doesn't know how to win a grand final, he absolutely knows how to get success in the regular season. And a lot has always been made of how he has, strict fitness for his players and everything like that. Or maybe not even strict, but, he just wants fit players. And, I imagine, what coach wouldn't? But Melbourne Victory primed for a title challenge. I think we could see ourselves overrun trying to rock a 2-man midfield and a high press against them. But at the same time, as I said, we got good vibes going into this, and that carries us sometimes. I'm a Sydney fan, I'll believe it. The We Are Sydney vibes absolutely carry us. It felt like they did last year. Like, we went up against Melbourne Victory. We were playing so poorly. I think we'd lost like back-to-back games, like four in a row or something. And we went out and we beat the Tards. So hopefully we can do it again. We're going in with some great form. And yeah, I hear it's going to be a massive away turnout as well. So that's quite exciting. I'm interested to see how the home crowd is as well. It was a decent turnout for the original Big Blue, or not the original one. That sounds weird to say, but the one earlier in the season. And yeah, I imagine with it being Australia Day and everything like that, doubleheader, it's only going to be bigger. So I'm really looking forward to this game, and I can't wait to get down to Melbourne. But that's been the A-League show for another week. Guys, thank you for watching. I do apologize for not getting the videos out. I have also been sick. Like, it has been a bit of tardiness on my part, but yeah, I have been sick as well. So yeah, that's I guess happens, but I did stream, so yeah, if you want to see all my dumb thoughts from the past couple of weeks, go watch my streams. But thanks for watching this one. I'll see you next time I do a video. Bye bye.